How have you been? How's things? Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm very good. How are you?
Good, good, good. I'm very good. I had to work last week. Sorry, I had some IT issues that I needed to sort out. So, yeah. So, are we gonna? Do you want to do this lab now, or should we do the lab, or what do you want to have a chat, or what would you like to do first? Sorry.
Yeah, we'll do. We'll do lab now.
Okay. So I'm just
Yeah,
going to share my screen with you. So
yeah.
let's. I'm going to say start sharing. Cool. Cool. Right. Can you see my screen? Can you see my
Yeah,
screen?
yeah, I can see your screen.
Can you see Azure?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so what we want to do is Azure have a new tool called the Azure Admin Center.
Okay.
So what we're going to do for your users, so again, it's just a really basic lab. So what we want to do, the first thing, in order to get Azure Center up and running, we need to create a resource group. So we can navigate to resource groups over here, or you could type it in the top here and select resource groups. Once you've typed it in the top here, you can select resource groups from here as well. So I'm just going to select my resource groups from here. I'm going to click create. And as you can see, I've created a resource group, but we'll create a new one. I'll call this WAC Windows Azure Center Lab, and we'll create that new resource group. And the reason we're creating this resource group is because we want to put our virtual machine in here. Once we've got our virtual machine in here, we can then go ahead and install the Windows Azure Admin Center. Now, the Windows Azure Admin Center is different from the standard Windows Admin Center, and Microsoft are moving everything towards the cloud. So I'm going to go ahead and create a virtual machine quickly. So we'll go and click add. We'll create a virtual machine. I'm sure a lot of you know how to do this. I'm going to select that resource group that we created called WAC Lab, and I'll just call this WAC01. And I'm going to leave it at 8 gigs of RAM. Microsoft Azure Center recommend that you use a minimum of 3 gigs of RAM. 3 gigs of RAM is not going to cut it. Even 4 doesn't. So again, because this is a lab, I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm going to go ahead and give my admin a name. So I'll call it AZ admin. I'm just going to go ahead and type in a password. Type it in again. Sorry, typed it in wrong. And then I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to leave RDP open for now. If you had your own server and on a hybrid environment, you could go ahead and select this and you'd actually get a 49% discount. So I'm going to go ahead and click next. For disks, as you can see, we've got a whole lot of disks that we can use. I'll just use the standard premium for now because it's just a lab. I'm going to go next. For networking, I'm going to accept the default network IP and subnet and VNet groups. I'm going to go next. And I'm going to turn off boot diagnostics because I don't need to enable boot diagnostics while we working with AWAC, which is Azure Windows Admin Center. I'm going to go next. We're not going to worry about tags. And we're going to go ahead and do a validation. And a validation is going to come back and tell us if our virtual machine has accepted the requirements, and it has. It's passed the validation. I'm going to go ahead and click create. And this is going to go away and create that virtual machine for us. Once that virtual machine has been created, we can then go ahead and modify our system to run our Azure Admin Center. And Azure Center is going to actually install an agent on that virtual server, but it's all managed through the console. And as you can see, by default, it's going away and creating that VNet, that IP address, the NSG, which is the network security group. And of course, we'll just wait while this creates. Sometimes it can take anywhere from a minute to 2 or 3 minutes, just depending on your environment. And again, depends on what it is you're wanting to do. So it shouldn't take too long to create that virtual machine. And once that virtual machine is created, as you can see, it's done it really quick. I'm just going to close the bell notification down over here. And as you can see, this has given me a notification that the resource group was created. And of course, our VM was deployed successfully. I'm going to dismiss all that. And I'm going to go to the resource. Now, once we go to our virtual server, you can see here we've got Windows Admin Center. And this is in preview mode, which means Microsoft are still testing it. But we could see some changes here. We could see some changes on the console or on the portal. It all depends. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the Windows Azure Admin Center. And if you notice, it says here the agent for your virtual machine needs to install Admin Center and it isn't ready. So we need to wait for this warning to go away. And this warning can take a couple of minutes. Once this warning has disappeared, we can go ahead and open up these ports. In previous versions of Admin Center, what you'd have to do is you'd have to manually go and open up the ports. When I mean in previous versions of the Admin Center and the Azure console, you would have to actually go into your networking section and add a rule to allow inbound and outbound traffic. The nice thing now with the portal, it does it for us automatically. We just have to select what we want open and click install. So we'll just give this a few seconds to install. What you can do is we can hit the refresh button and there we go. It's ready to install. So I'm going to go ahead and select both of those to allow those ports to be opened. And I'm going to go ahead and install Azure Admin Center. And as you can see here in the notification area, it says enabling outbound traffic in the network security group. So we need to just wait for that to happen. And then, of course, once that's happened, it's going to install the Azure Admin Center extension. And that uses a remote PowerShell over WinRM to deliver that package. So we'll just wait for a second for it to deliver. And this can be anywhere from, I would say, 2 minutes to 5 minutes. So it's one of these things where we've just got to hurry up and wait for it to deploy. But once it's deployed, we can actually go into Azure Admin Center, and actually start looking at some of the tools out there and start looking at some of the features that it has. And this before was never available in Azure. So you would have to install this application directly on your Windows virtual server. And then you'd have to remote into your Windows virtual server. And then you could manage your servers from a single server. So the fact that Microsoft have now made this available in the portal is very exciting for admins, especially if you wanting to manage a large number of virtual machines. And I can see with the way Microsoft is moving that in the next few years, Azure is going to be a complete hybrid system, because as you and I know, there's a lot of on-prem stuff. And of course, we have a lot of stuff that is in the cloud. So a lot of companies have a mix of stuff locally on premises and stuff in the cloud. So again, this shouldn't take too long to deploy. It's one of these things where we've got to hurry up and wait for it to deploy. So once this is deployed, we can then carry on with the lab. And the reason I've chosen Windows Admin Center is because it's in preview, which means it's a new setting. It's a new feature that's available. And it is really awesome once you get into it and see what you can physically do with your server. So again, like I say, sometimes we just got to sit and wait for it to install. Once it's installed, this will go away, and then we can actually log in to our Azure Admin Center. Once we log into Azure Admin Center, it'll tie it to the portal automatically, so that when we decide to log in again, we won't have to type in our username and password. We can just go straight in. Again, you can give granular permissions to somebody. You might say, okay, well, I'm going to allow site to administer admin center, but he can't touch anything else, and vice versa. And a lot of people get confused. They think, well, Azure Admin Center, it's managing Azure. No, it's not. It's managing that virtual server we've just created. So again, normally what you would do is you would add all your virtual machines would then start populating in there once you've have them available, and then you can manage them from Azure Virtual Center. And as you can see here, this has got nothing to do with the admin center, but the reason I'm showing you this is because once the admin center becomes available, we will see this familiar tree-like infrastructure where we can go ahead and remote desktop straight within here to our server. We don't actually have to RDP through a client or download a client. I mean, if you have people on-prem, you could then give them the RDP client and they can then remote in. And then obviously, once they log into the server, you can give them access to Admin Center. But the whole idea with Admin Center is to actually manage everything from a single pane of glass. And as you can see here, it's gone ahead and installed Admin Center, and it's busy doing the ports. So what we're going to do is we're just going to wait for this to complete successfully. So once this is completed, we're going to go ahead and connect to Azure Admin Center, and this should allow us to log in. And if you notice, I've got an error now, and that's because we tried to log in straight away. We just need to be a little bit patient, and then we can log back in and we should be absolutely fine. I don't know why Microsoft have this link here, because if you try to open it up using this link, I just want to show you, it will, if we go to advanced and then we say continue, we can log in from here as well, AZ admin, and of course we go here, and I'll just signing in. So again, we could log in from this link, but you're going to see something interesting as this populates. And I want to show you this so that you guys are aware of something. So once it initializes the application, we'll just give it a second. So we can do it through that portal as well as through the center here. But now you notice we've got this here, and we'll just say advanced, and we'll just say continue. You will get this warning saying that people can get into your system, where if we were directly in the console, a lot of this we wouldn't see because the console has all the security features available. And there we go. It says, please use the portal. So why have this link? So I don't know why Microsoft would have that link, because that tells us we need to use the portal. So I'll just try and connect again now. And now we should be able to connect because we've given a bit of time. And we just log on. And I'm just signing in now. It's just thinking about it. I did click sign in. Yep. I'm not going to save the password. We're going to log into Admin Center through the portal. So having that little hyperlink there doesn't really do anything. I think it must be some legacy stuff that they've put in there. But as you can see now, once the Azure Admin Center opens up, we can do a whole lot of things. We can remote desktop. We can add roles and features to that server. We can do registry updates. We can open up PowerShell. We can go to Performance Monitor. We've got local users and groups. Now, this is not Active Directory users and groups. This is the local users and groups on the computer, because this server is not joined to an Active Directory domain or a domain as such. We can install our certificates. So if I go over to, let's start at the bottom. If we come down and we go to services, these are the services that you would see in Windows. If you wanted to start or stop a service, you could go through and do that. So we'll just give this a second while this thinks about it. And as you can see, we can go down and restart our standard services that you'd all be familiar with when working within Azure. So again, we've also got roles and features. And our roles and features are the roles and features that you would see on a Windows server. If you've installed a Windows server and you want to make it a file server or an Active Directory domain controller, we could scroll down and see all the roles and features that we have. So we might say, well, okay, you might want to make this this server, for example, an Active Directory domain server. We could do that, or we could say file and print server. By clicking on the file and print server, we can go ahead and click install, and this would go ahead and install that role on that server for us automatically. Again, moving up into remote desktop, we can now remote desktop straight from here into our Windows server or our virtual machine. So if you noticed, I haven't downloaded any RDP client like you would normally get in Azure. Again, the reason I think this is a little bit slow because it's still in preview mode. I know once Microsoft release it to a full production mode, we can. So you might go ahead and we'll type in our password. And of course, we can't just say connect because this is grayed out. We've got to do this and accept a connection certificate. So I'm going to say confirm, and then I'm going to go and say connect. Now, the first time you connect using the remote desktop session within here, it kind of has to think about it for a while. And I think this is because it's in preview mode, like I said previously. I know if I download the RDP client directly, the connection's a lot quicker and a lot faster. But like I say, I want us to walk through this so that you can actually see how nice this is. This will also scale that desktop for us automatically to suit this window. So it's a little bit slow logging in, but like I say, if we just wait a little bit, it's a little bit and be a little bit patient, we'll be able to connect and get into that server. Obviously, if I was using the RDP client, I would have connected already because the RDP client is not in beta mode. It's not in a preview mode. It's a full production client that Microsoft have released, and it's refined. Where Azure Admin Center, this is new. So I would expect with the release of it, I would expect newer features to be added, or features to be streamlined, or features to be removed. Normally when it goes into preview mode, there are some things that Azure Admin Center will either add or take away. And as you can see, there's my desktop of my server. I'm just going to say no. And I'm just going to let Server Manager fire up. And I'm going to close that bad boy down. And I'm going to go ahead and close Server Manager down from here. And as you can see, this is my server. You know, I can go ahead and work on it as if I was remoting into the system. Once you connect it, it's really quick. There is no lag in creating anything. I can create a folder here. So you can go ahead and see it's pretty quick. You can do all the stuff that you needed to do. Of course, you've still got roles and features. So you can send Alt-Control-Delete to lock that server, or I could go ahead and disconnect from that server. I could come into here. I could say remove the task view button. We can get rid of Internet Explorer. Just unpin that. And then if I said disconnect, that will disconnect me from the server. If I go into the registry, this is really cool. And where this will be important is when you're setting up Windows virtual desktops and you've got a management server. If you install Admin Center on that management server, you can go to the registry keys and set up FX logics for your WVD users desktop profiles. So you'd have to make a registry change. And as you can see, I can come in here and I can navigate all the way down, and I can make any registry change that I see fit. If I wanted to make a registry change on something, I could click on on some of the registries here. And again, I could go and add a value, modify a value. If I wanted to modify that, I could go ahead and modify those values, or even delete those values. Again, moving up to processes. Again, this allows us to manage other bits and pieces within our server. And because our processes here, we can start and stop, as you've seen earlier on when we went through there. We can create a processor dump and see what's going on. Another thing I wanted to show you quickly is I'll just go down to storage. And the storage is not the storage on Azure. Again, I want you guys to understand it's the storage on the virtual machine. And we should see 2 disk drives. So we have our disk drive 0 and our disk drive 1. And this tells us that the disk is in a healthy state. We can also create a volume if we wanted to. PowerShell. It's nice. We can access PowerShell directly from here without actually remote desktoping into the server. We can create a PowerShell connection. So what this is doing now, it's connecting. It's asking for our server password. So I'll type that in. Enter. And as you can see, there's my server password. So I'm connected. If I wanted to go ahead and use PowerShell, for example, and get a PowerShell version, I could go ahead and just press that and press enter, and this will give me my version of PowerPoint. So there's a lot of things that you can do in PowerShell. So you can work nicely within here. The only thing I would like Microsoft to add is if you could make the font a little bit bigger. Unfortunately, we're stuck with a small font. Again, we've got Performance Monitor. So let's go to Performance Monitor, which is really cool because we can go in here and we can manage our server's performance and see what's going on. We can go ahead and create a workspace. So by clicking create a workspace, this will fire up. I'm going to add a counter. And the nice thing about this is before you'd have to scroll through to try and find what you wanted to find. Now we can actually do a find search. So if I said processor, which is what I want, I'll go ahead and say total. And we'll go ahead and we'll say processor time, and I would go ahead and add that counter. And as you can see now, it's giving my processor counters kicked off straight away. So I can see what's going on. The nice thing with this is we've got our different maps that we can see what's going on. And of course, we can always go back to our report view and we can see what's happening. A lot of people use report view from the old way of managing the server, and we can go through and just see what's going on with that. We could actually pause that and check the time frame if we wanted to. We would let that run for a little bit. If I said pause, I could come into here and see exactly what happened at that particular time. Of course, we could resume our task. And of course, you could go ahead and save that counter. So I could go ahead and save that workspace as, let's just call it test, and save that workspace. Now I know what that's called. It's saved that as test processor for me. Again, this is in preview mode and it's more for evaluation and testing. So I expect Microsoft to clean up things and make things a lot more smoother and quicker. We can shift over to local users and groups, and these are local users and groups on the server itself. Again, like I say, it's a little bit slow because it's thinking about it. I can go, excuse me, I can go ahead and add a user here, so we can just call this whack, if I can spell, and I'm lazy, so I'm just gonna copy and paste that all the way through. And I'll just paste it in there and we'll just give it a password. And submit. And this would go away and create that user there for me. We could again select on that user. I could select manage memberships and I could go ahead and say, right, I'm going to make that user an administrator for argument's sake. and click OK. And of course, if you notice on the notification bar here, it tells us that it's made that task has completed successfully. We can close that notification area down. The same thing with groups. We can go in here and add a group. So the same process again. We can just call this whack RG. Also whack RG, and I could click submit, and that would go ahead and create that group for us, and there it is. And of course we could click on that group, we could rename it. If we click on more, we could edit that group, or we could go ahead and delete that group. So of course, if we had any installed apps like Office or OneNote or Notepad or Notepad++, you would see all of your apps would show up. And by default, you can see we only have one app, and that's the Windows Admin Center. And that was installed, and the amount of drive space it's taken up and the version number. And of course, we've got our firewall here. And again, this is not the Azure firewall, it's the virtual machines firewall. So we can go ahead in this firewall, and we can go and add incoming rules. We can add outgoing rules, and we can go ahead and select new and add whatever rule we wanted to add. And the same with the outgoing rules. Now, if you accidentally close it like I've done there, you can just connect again. And I've done that on purpose because I wanted to show you it didn't prompt me for a username or password. It knows that I'm logged into my tenant. So this is really awesome. Again, you can come down to file sharing, and file sharing is pretty much the same. We can go in. I think in the old Admin Center on Windows, it would just say files sharing or files. So in here, we can go ahead and manage everything from a single glass of pane. So I could come into here. I could go and create a new folder, and we'll just call this demo. If I can spell today, sorry guys. And click submit. And there we go. There's my folder as well. Again, coming into certificates, we could go ahead here and manage any certificates that we wanted to, whether that be local certificates or remote certificates. For example, if this was a web server and you wanted to download an SSL certificate, you could manage your SSL certificates from here, which is awesome. So there's a lot of things that we can do within our system. And like I said, if you notice it's a little bit slow, again, you can come into updates right at the bottom, and this will give us our Windows updates. So it's like it's a nice tool for managing your Windows server from a single pane or a single environment. So if you have a look here, once this populates, we've got these updates. We can go ahead and select on these updates, and we could install them. We could schedule a restart, or we could just let Azure take care of it and install it. And of course, we've got our update history as well. So this gives us a really brief overview of what the Azure Admin Center is. And it is slightly different. Of course, you can scroll down here, and we can see what's happening on our CPU. We can see what's happening on our memory, and of course, our Ethernet card as well. So we can get a baseline of what's going on within our system. So again, it's just giving you a basic overview of what the Azure Admin Center is all about. Again, if I accidentally closed it there and you wanted to get back into it, and let's say we closed it over there, and you say, well, I've lost my Azure Admin Center, where do I go? Just go to Virtual Machines, select the virtual machine, and then there's Azure Admin Center. So you have to have a virtual machine in order to get Azure Admin Center to work. So that gives you a basic overview of how to install Azure Admin Center and just some of the things that we can do within Azure Admin Center. Again, at the end of the day, if you wanted to stop that virtual machine, it's pretty straightforward. We just click stop and we click yes. Now, if I stop that virtual machine, you won't be able to connect to Azure Admin Center, because Azure Admin Center runs on the virtual machine. And because the virtual machine is stopped, you can't connect to it. It's as simple as that. you have to have the virtual machine running in order to connect to Azure Admin Center. Again, if you're not using Azure Admin Center, I would say go ahead and shut down that machine, put it in a deallocated mode, because if it's in a deallocated mode, you're not paying for it. Even though it says it's deallocating here, wait for the notification to tell you that it's been deallocated. Otherwise, it's still in a running state. So once that deallocated has stopped, you will see here that it says stopped and it's deallocated. Now we're not actually paying for that virtual machine. That virtual machine is not running, so we're not working for it. So don't think, okay, well, I've gone to my virtual machine, I've stopped it, let me go ahead and manage it. You can't. It's all grayed out. So the virtual machine has to be running in order for you to access Azure Admin Center. So I hope you guys have learned a lot in this training video. It's just a really base overview of Azure Admin Center. If you wanted to delete your resources so that you're not paying for them, the easiest way to do that would be to go to Resource Group. I would select my lab where that virtual machine is. Again, if I click on there, I can see that's where my virtual machine is. And we could go ahead, highlight this. This is the easy way to do this. Select copy and say delete the group and paste that in. And that's going to delete that virtual machine. It's going to delete the network security group. It's going to delete the VNet, the IP address, of course, the network card and the disk, and of course, Azure Admin Center as well. I'll go ahead and delete. The nice thing with Azure Admin Center, it's free. There's no charge to it at all, which is great. But there is a charge for your virtual machine. So while your virtual machine is running, you are paying for it. If your virtual machine is stopped and deallocated, then you're not paying for it. So just bear that in mind. So again, if you're not using any of those resources, I would say the best practice would be to go in and actually delete that resource group completely. That way you're getting rid of all of these resources and you're not paying for it. So the notification area here will tell you when those resources have been deleted, because what we're actually doing now is we're just cleaning up behind us so that we can go ahead and use Azure for something else. Because if you have a lot of resources running in Azure, you'll pay for them. So the key is, if you're working from home and you haven't got a lot of money, what resources are not being used needs to be shut down, stopped, or deleted. Don't pause them, because if it's paused, you're still paying for it. So make sure you stop the service related to the resource, and then you'll be good to go. So we'll just wait for a minute or two while this deletes, and this will get rid of those resources for us. We'll be able to do a refresh shortly, and then our Azure console is nice and clean, and we can now prep for another lab without having to pay for that cost. If you wanted to use that virtual machine again, I would say deallocate that virtual machine, and then you can always fire it up again as you need it. So you're not building machines all the time. You can deal with one machine. I mean, if you wanted to add a couple of virtual machines up there, you can. It's not that difficult to add a virtual machine. You may want to select another virtual machine. For example, if I went into virtual machines, I won't add a virtual machine, but I'm just going to show you here. When we click add a virtual machine, we can go in here, and if you notice here, I've got the Windows Data Center, and I can scroll up here and select whatever I wanted to, whatever operating system I wanted, whether it's Ubuntu, or whether it's Red Hat or SUSE, or even Windows 10. And if I select Windows 10, you'll notice that there's a change in the price. It'll say price loading. So this is a good indicator to look at when you're setting up your virtual machines, because this is where your prices are related at the end of the day. And this price is based on this virtual machine running 24/7 for a full month. So again, if you wanted to change those sizes, you come down 2 sizes, and you might say, well, I want to use a BS2 size for argument's sake, and I could select that, and you'll notice now the prices come down to $58 a month because that's not such a high spec virtual machine. So again, these are things that I want you to be aware of. Let's move over back to our resource group and just do a refresh, and it's still in the process of deleting that resource, and it shouldn't take too long to delete it, but once that resource has been deleted, we can do a refresh and we are ready to go for the next lab. Got any questions, Sai?
Yeah. So first we entered into the system and created a group, resource group, and then we have created a virtual machine, and in that we have installed the thing that you said, Azure
Admin Center.
admin center, and in that there are a lot of features in how we have in the local in laptop, I mean in Windows computer PCs that we have normally. Most of them are similar.
I mean, absolutely. A lot of them are similar. What Microsoft are trying to do is they are trying to give you a single pane of glass to manage all of your Windows machines. Just bear in mind, if you are wanting to manage 10 virtual machines, you need to make sure you've got the agent installed on 10 virtual machines, and you only log into one server, and you can manage all of your virtual machines that way. So you might wanting to make a change to a virtual machine, or you might want to make a customized virtual machine that you want to deploy. So there's a lot of reasons why you'd want to use Azure Admin Center, especially as an IT administrator. A lot of the guys want to know what resources are running, why the server's under load. Microsoft, I think, are moving away from the on-prem stuff to more in the cloud. And they're moving towards having more of a hybrid environment. They know a lot of users will still have IT stuff on premises because they've invested a lot of money in IT on site. So to just can that is a huge expense for companies. So we'll always have this hybrid environment between on premises and in the cloud. If you install Azure Center in Azure, you can also manage your on-prem servers as well. So you can manage your on-prem virtual machines as well as physical machines, as well as stuff in the cloud too. So it's more for the administrator if they are troubleshooting and they want to do stuff. But again, like you say, if you go into virtual machines, once you create a virtual machine and a virtual machine is up and running, we can go through our virtual machine, and our virtual machine will give us tools as well to manage stuff like disk management, performance monitor. So you can do all of that as well if you don't want to have Azure Admin Center. But I think Microsoft are bringing that in because it's an important part of Windows. I mean, it's been around since Server 2012, 2008. They're just trying to streamline a lot of stuff at the end of the day and bring it all into Azure. And again, if we come into our services, something else I wanted to show you. If we went to all of our services, you can see we have over 18 general services, and we've got templates which are in review. We've got preview features, which is in review. So you can see Microsoft have got quite a lot of stuff that's in preview, and it's just growing over time with so many things. We've got load balancing, help me choose. So this is great because a lot of people are not too sure how to set up load balancing. So having these tools that allow you to do that is great. I mean, this is nice as well, Azure Storage Explorer. Before, we would have to download this, install this on our Windows machine, and then we could explore our storage. So the fact that we've got Storage Explorer there already is absolutely amazing, because I can go now and view my blob containers, my queues, my tables, whatever the case may be. I don't have to download this and install this on a Windows 10 PC, because before I had to download it, install it on a Windows 10 PC. It was a standalone app. Then I'd have to then link it up with keys to the Azure console, and then I could manage my blob storage. But now we can manage it all within the console. So this is really good news for IT administrators. And if you notice, we still have classic accounts because this is the old Azure stuff. They still keep it in there. We come down to web apps. You can see there's a lot of web apps. We've got mobile apps. We've got containers for Kubernetes and SQL. We've got Cosmos DB. Again, we've got SQL registries, which is in preview mode as well. So they've got quite a lot of stuff that's in preview, which is really awesome. So it means Microsoft are continuing to add stuff. Power Platform is new in preview. So that's also awesome. Of course, we've got our Active Directory where we have our MFA authentication, our AD security, identity protection, and security as well. Of course, in our AD Connect in order to connect our on-prem stuff to our cloud Active Directory and synchronize those user accounts. So there's a lot of things that Microsoft are doing. And of course, we've got Azure Blueprints, we've got Managed Application Center. So anything you see in preview is something new that Microsoft are adding, or something that may be old that Microsoft are modifying. So at the end of the day, you can see there are quite a new things like data arc controllers, which in my opinion, Microsoft Azure Data Arc is going to do away with the JSON files, because you used to create JSON files for deployments within Azure. And it can be quite complex using a JSON file, where having Arc is going to actually make it a lot easier. So there's a lot of things that we can do within Azure. You can't be an expert in all these fields because they are huge. But at the end of the day, it's a case of you having a basic understanding of Azure. And like I say, compute, networking, and storage, I would say those are the three core features of Azure. Of course, I would say databases and containers come next. But if you're a new person getting familiar with Azure, I would say learn about computing, networking, and storage, and then the rest will all start to fall into place. So hopefully that'll give you a bit more information on what is Azure and how to manage Azure and how to install the Windows Azure Admin Center. So it's just a high-level overview, so that if someone does talk to you about Azure Admin Center, you can say, yep, I know what you're talking about. Microsoft have over 260 applications alone in the resource category. So it's really, really huge at the end of the day. Any other questions?
Yeah, I got you. I understood you. Very clear.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, like I say, if you've got any new users, or for new users out there, if you follow this lab, you'll be able to install Azure Admin Center, create a virtual machine, and create a resource group. So you'll be able to do three things in one lab: create a resource group, create a virtual machine, and of course, install Azure Admin Center and manage your virtual machine. So
do we have to install Azure Admin Center in every virtual machine that we create?
No, you don't.
One time it's okay.
Yes. Yeah, you don't have to install it on every virtual machine. Depends on your environment. I mean, you may not want to use Azure Admin Center. It just depends on the IT person managing that server. They might be using a third-party product. They may be using just the built-in tools to manage their server. So it all depends on your environment, and it depends on the user, what they want to do and how they want to manage their infrastructure.
Yeah, I got you.
Cool.
So compute, storage, and databases, networking, these are the core services that every beginner should learn.
Yes, if every beginner learns those core services, what I call core services, they will be able to do quite a lot with Azure. They'll get up and running really quick. And I would say, if you haven't done Azure and you want to learn Azure, the Azure AZ 900 course which is Azure Fundamentals, is a really good course to do. Then if you have done that, I would say the next course to do would be the AZ 104, which is the Azure Administrators course. And that will teach you how to administer and administrate Azure and how to manage your users from the Azure on a day-to-day basis. So having those core concepts underneath your belt and doing those 2 certifications, and there are just 2 exams, one exam for the Azure Fundamentals and one exam for the Azure Administrators exam, 2 exams in total, but each exam gives you a credential. So you'll get one certificate saying you are certified in Azure Fundamentals, and then you'll get another certificate saying that you're an Azure Certified Associate, which is really good. I mean, they do require some study, and they do require that you put a bit of effort into it, because some of the exams are not that easy to do. Also, some of the exams may have a live lab like this where you would actually log in and create a resource group or create a VNet, or in some cases they might even ask you to install Azure Admin Center. You don't know. I don't know what they're going to ask you in the exam. You may not even get a lab. I mean, we may both go and do the same exam, and I may get some labs and you may not. You may get some labs and I may not. So I think it's just on the day when you go how fortunate you are when you do the exam. And like I said, the exams do require study and effort. You can't just read a book and spend 1 hour in Azure and go and write the exam and pass. It's not going to work.
Yeah, I got you, Rand.
Cool. So that completes that lab. So I'll stop sharing that screen. Stop sharing that screen and come back and come back to you, and we should all be good to go.
Yeah.
Good to go again. So that's a basic lab, but I mean, you may want to do a session on creating users, creating different types of resources, and we can do that as well. That's not a problem too. So if you say, hey Ryan, I want to create a lab on this, or I want to create a lab on that, we can start doing that and working through those labs for you that you can share with your subscribers. And hopefully this little lab will give your subscribers a basic introduction to Azure, because not only have we created a virtual machine, we've created a resource group, and we've installed Admin Center. I mean, it's a lot to take in for a new user, but at least when they talk about Azure, they can be a bit familiar. A lot of people may be scared to sign up to Azure, because when you sign up, it asks for your credit card. That doesn't mean Azure is going to charge you. Azure is free. The pay-as-you-go is free. The only reason they ask for your credit card is because you might want to upgrade your subscription to pay-as-you-go, where you pay for stuff as you use it. And if you do, you can set yourself a budget of, I don't know, $10 or $15 to set up. It all depends on you. But if you don't have a budget, you can sign up for free. And the pay-as-you-go feature, once you go to pay-as-you-go, it unlocks the Security Center. And Security Center, let me just show you quickly. I'll just switch back to the screen so that you can see what I mean. Because if you go to pay-as-you-go, and I go to Security Center, once I'm in Security Center, all these features are unlocked. But in the free version, a lot of these features are grayed out. You won't have access to them. So if you want to have access to a lot of these features, you need to upgrade your subscription. Again, that depends on you as the individual, on how much money you have. But if you want to use the free version, you can. It's just the free version won't allow you to use features in the Security Center. So it's just a I got you at the end of the day. Again, the subscriptions are not expensive. I mean, pay as you go, you only pay for what you use. I think if I spend 18 New Zealand dollars a month, it's a lot, but again, I do a lot in it. So it all depends on you. But again, you may say, no, I just want the free version. You can still do all the core services in the free version. It won't stop you from using Azure. You can still create virtual machines. You can still create a database. You can still create resource groups and delete resource groups. You can create VNets and subnets and everything as well. That's not going to stop you from using Azure. So I would say to those that don't have Azure, don't be scared. Obviously, the only way to get Azure is to have a subscription, and unfortunately, they will require your credit card information for that. Unless you've got a friend then you can go over to his house, or you can come to your house and you can log into his Azure portal and do training with him. But again, like I say, it's just one of those things. People think, oh, it's free, I'm going to sign up, and then it asks for your credit card, and they think, oh, they're going to take money. But no, they won't take money until you upgrade to pay as you go. And the only reason they need the credit card, like I said, is in case you do want to upgrade, then you can upgrade. And that's the only reason why. And of course, Security Center is a lot of the features are all grayed out until you upgrade to pay as you go.
So we can create as many as resource groups
as many
depending on our requirement.
Yes, I think with the resource groups and the users, I think it's some thousands. Are you with me? It's not millions. I think if you upgrade to pay as you go, then it's unlimited, I think. Okay. But I think at the moment on the free version, you can create thousands of resources and stuff, or hundreds of networks. And if you're working from home and you're practicing, there's no way you're going to be creating thousands of resources and hundreds of networks. So it'll be good enough for home. It'll even be good enough for small businesses as well. Are you with me? So it all depends on what you want to do. I would say if you've got a little bit of money, if you've got $5 or $10 to spend, I'm talking Indian money, because it'll be more than enough. Each country is different. Obviously, you'll be charged in your currency, not in US dollars. So again, you only need to upgrade if you want to have access to Security Center. If you don't want access to Security Center and you're quite happy with the free bits, yeah, you can go ahead and do quite a lot with it. And you can actually use it in a live production environment and work with it. I mean, Active Directory will work. I think you can create, again, hundreds and hundreds of users. So it's one of these things that you can use for free, and you only pay when the need arises to pay. If you want to have things like virtual desktops, Windows virtual desktops, unfortunately, that's not available in the free version. You have to upgrade to Azure pay as you go. Then, of course, a lot of features will become available. So you might say, well, but I don't see this feature and I don't see that feature. That's because that person's upgraded to pay as you go. And that's also bad with some engineers or trainers. They'll show you how to create a virtual desktop, or they'll show you how to create some security policies. And then you go to your Azure console and you find you can't create them because everything's grayed out. And you think, but how come he can do it and I can't do it? You know, what have I done wrong? You know, is my Azure the same as his? Yes, it looks the same, but why is it grayed out? It's grayed out because he hasn't upgraded, and it's you haven't upgraded, and it's highlighted on his side, and he can use it because he's paid for it. So that's what pay as you go does. It turns on a lot of features for you. Again, if you don't create any servers, you're not going to be paid. You're not going to pay for them. You know. Again, if you do use servers, pause them or delete them when you're finished. I mean, don't pause them, stop them, or delete them, because if you pause a virtual machine, you're still going to pay for the virtual machine while it's running. So I would say stop it so it's deallocated. If you're not using it, then delete it and recreate it again to get familiar. If you've worked with Amazon AWS, it's very similar. And I know you've worked with AWS, so you'll find this pretty easy. I mean, you'll find some things interesting and you'll find some things questionable, and you find some things that are not so interesting, because obviously Amazon have been doing this a lot longer than Microsoft, and Amazon are the dominant player in the cloud. But Microsoft Azure is catching up very quickly, and if AWS are not careful, Azure will be right neck and neck with them. So I would say at the moment, I mean, Google are in the cloud as well, but Google, in my opinion, came to the market too late. I would say the dominant players are going to be Microsoft and Azure at the end of the day. I mean, Google, you know, they could have gone to the cloud long ago with Gmail and Google Drive. So, you know, they had a head start, but they, in my opinion, they got a bit lazy, and Amazon screamed past them and took a huge market share away. And the same thing with Microsoft. I think Google Cloud only have like 9% market share. Amazon have, as of 2021, they have over 22% market share. And AWS has, I think, 30 or 40% market share, somewhere around there. So there's a lot of growth around Azure, and that's because everybody uses Word and Excel and PowerPoint and Office 365. So any legacy applications integrate nicely with Azure. And of course, that makes sense. It's Microsoft. So at the end of the day, it's going to come down to you as an individual. What qualifications do you want to do? And again, I would say if you're going to work at a company that uses Amazon, then learn Amazon, AWS. It's no good. I'm going to be an Azure expert and go and work for AWS. Not going to work because they don't run Azure at AWS, you know, at Amazon. And the vice versa. You can't say, well, I'm going to learn Amazon and go get a job at Microsoft. Microsoft use Azure. It might be good to get the fundamentals of AWS and Azure because you don't know which company you're going to work on. Get what I call multi-cloud certified. I would say Amazon and AWS are the major players. A lot of companies, it'll be either one. I haven't come across a company yet that I know of that uses Google Cloud. And of course, we have China's cloud coming in online as well. Alibaba. It's called Alibaba Cloud. That's bigger in China than Amazon and AWS. And Azure and AWS are in China. But Alibaba Cloud is wiping the floor with them. You know, so again, the Alibaba Cloud things are really cheap. It's also a good product to learn. So I would say as a beginner, getting some fundamentals around Azure will help you get your first job, or AWS. And then, of course, if you're looking at working overseas in terms of Asia, like China, especially China up that side, Taiwan, Tibet, Vietnam, Cambodia, they would all use, I would say, would use Alibaba for their cloud because it just makes sense. It's right there in China. It's local. And of course, the Alibaba cloud in China is amazingly fast. You won't believe how quick it is compared to Azure. But again, they don't have the footprint that AWS have and Microsoft have. So from my point of view, I would say getting Microsoft certified is the first start, and then getting the fundamentals of AWS. I mean, I'm certified in both AWS and Azure, but I do a lot of Azure, so that's where I live. I learned AWS so that I could have a better understanding of what Amazon is, you know, and their infrastructure. And I love AWS. It's an amazing platform. It's really good. It's got a nicer sharing file system than Azure, in my opinion. But again, you know, opinions vary. So again, I know Microsoft are making strides as well to bring Azure to the forefront. So they're making some good changes, and they're listening to engineers, they're listening to end users, they're listening to customers, and they're working on those products and aligning those products with their businesses and with the customers and the users, and making it really attractive to move to Azure Cloud. All those people that are running Microsoft products are moving to Azure. It just makes sense. They won't move to Amazon because it's a Microsoft product, so they'd rather stay with Microsoft for compatibility issues. Even though there's nothing wrong with moving to another vendor, it will just be the preference of the company. Hence the reason why the Azure market share is growing tremendously. So yeah, They're very, very big. So Azure would be a good start, and then AWS after that.
So today you have shown me how to create a virtual machine and how to create a resource group and how to deallocate the machines that are created.
Yes.
And you said the different features that are there and the services that Azure is providing.
Absolutely. Azure have over 260 services alone, and there's a lot of services in preview. So once those services go into production, they'll go live as well. And they, the nice thing with Azure and the bad thing with Azure, because the Azure is not the silver bullet. It's not the best system out there. There are pros and cons to everything. The pro is Azure continue to develop and upgrade and adapt to suit the environment. The bad news is they could take certain resources away. Are you with me? Or change them, or move them, or rename them. So that's the drawback. And that's the same with AWS as well. It's a case of today we'll see this tool, tomorrow we won't. But Azure won't just rip it away from you. They'll let the users know. But I would say most of the time, you may find, for example, like in Azure, you may be looking to create something, and then you find a tab is missing, and that's because that tab is being moved. A good example would be if you are creating an Azure lock, you'd find that some of the tabs have moved around as opposed to the classic portal, because some of the training videos out there are using the old Azure console, and people would watch those videos and then they'll say, but my console looks different, or why is this tab missing? And you've got it. That's because you've got the latest console version. And when that video was created, it was created using the older console. So that could be some of the issues that I've come across with Azure. But all the features are normally there. It's just they've renamed them and put them in a different location. But once you find them, then it's not so hard to learn where they live.
Awesome. So I understood, and also I understood the difference between AWS and Azure. So, so I hope the people who are listening and watching this understood it, the fundamental and the basic idea, the overview of the services, how it works.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, if any users have got any questions, they're more than welcome to get hold of me on LinkedIn or get hold of you, and you can let me know, and we'll try and address some of their concerns. Again, I try to add new videos every week to the platform. I've got a nice in-depth video, a bit more in-depth video on the Azure Admin Center on my YouTube channel, and I also have a few other new videos. I've added why get an Azure certification, why would I want to do it, and of course I've added some other, but so I try to add at least 2 new videos a week to my library, and I encourage the users. I've got ones there that concentrate purely on virtual machines, one that concentrates purely on Windows and Linux virtual machines, creating resources, deleting resources, creating backups, snapshots. So there's quite a lot there for them to look at. And like I say, if they want to see something, they can let us know, and then hopefully we can create a lab for them around their request. So yeah, it's just a matter of us keeping our ears open and listening to what your subscribers are after. Then hopefully we can share knowledge with them, and they can go away and share that knowledge with somebody else. And you'll find once they've done the lab once or twice, they'll know it already. I've made it as easy as possible for someone to understand, and it's using the latest Azure console. So that means if they log in, they'll see what they're supposed to see. They're not going to see, well, how come he's got that thing and I don't have that? So there's nothing worse than doing that. When you go and work on a system, you think, well, why is it different from my system? It's exactly the same thing. But yeah, in the background, somebody's turned something off, or there's been an update and it's turned that feature off, or it's turned another feature on, or it's renamed that feature to something else.
So I'll put the YouTube link of yours in the
Mm.
description of this video. People who find this video, they will see the concepts that you have explained very clearly in your channel.
Mm. And I've put, like I say, your link on my channel as well, so that I can drive a lot of traffic to your site as well. So again, the feedback I've had on my LinkedIn with regards to your videos has been absolutely phenomenal. I mean, again, like I say, you're really doing something amazing, because I haven't had any negative comments. I'm sure you've probably had some from a few people, but generally speaking, 99.9% of them have all been positive, and people have walked away and said, yeah, that was really good. They've learned something. So whether it be IT or whether it be something else that you've spoken about, they've been really good. And I've just about watched all your videos as well, and they're all amazing. You've done the interviews very, very well. And it's so nice to have such a broad scope of topics to listen. It's very interesting, and it's very rewarding to see what people do and their experiences around the different things that they present or do. So it's absolutely been amazing. And like I say, your channel is just amazing. And I've shared it with so many people, even other IT people who have come back to me and said, wow, is he new? I said, no, he's been going for a long time. Well, I've never heard of him. I said, well, now you have. So I said, now you have. And they said, he's so awesome in the way he presents and asks questions and stuff. So definitely, you are doing an amazing job. I mean, the other day, someone else watched your channel at work, nothing to do with IT. They watched something else. And before we knew it, there were 3 or 4 people crowding around watching your little thing on his screen. I'm like, oh, that's good. Awesome. Oh, this guy's awesome. I said, I was going to say, yeah, I know him. And then I thought, no, I better not interrupt their session, because they were like, man, this guy is good. Hey, we need to share this. Yeah, and I was like, yeah, send it to me. I want to send it to someone else. Oh, I'll send it. And so, yeah. So there were 4 people that I know that were watching stuff that you were presenting. So I thought, well, that's just absolutely amazing for me to see it from outside. So I should have taken a video and shown you. You would have really appreciated that. So if that happens again, and I can think fast enough, then I'll quickly whip out my phone and say, why are you videoing us?
So it's a great thing, and it's a pleasure for me. You are a very experienced person who is already into the industry from a long time, and seeing a lot of people and a lot of the real things, the practical things. You saying this like a newborn baby, like you are feeling like you got it. You know, that expression of yours is making me feel very, very high and very happy. And you're one of the special people that I met, and I wanted to talk more about the technology and the cloud with you. Whenever you give me your valuable time, whenever you are free, I really wanted to continue this communication and this sharing of knowledge, because I have a lot of questions in my mind, but I need the proper observer to give answers. Only a person like you can see everywhere. Like you are into Azure, you are into AWS, you can understand Alibaba. I think you can give answers for anything that I ask. So it's really pleasure for me. I'm sure next time also I'm going to experience a lot from you, and also my audiences are going to learn a lot from you. And I also got a lot of extremely positive compliments from IT people. So the person with whom you have interviewed last week was fantastic. He was very clear in what he's saying. They are from England. They are,
Oh.
some people are from England. Some people are from like Pakistan. So it's connecting. Your thoughts are like moving everywhere. Somewhere they don't even know they are. It is reaching there. So it's it's a very big thing that this technology is allowing us to share. So thank yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, technology is changing the way we work, the way we play, and the way we do things. And you're right. Things that we do, things that we share, have far-reaching consequences with other people that we would never think of, that would be watching your videos, or watching the interviews, or watching anything. The fact that the knowledge is getting out there, inspiring confidence in people, giving them the abilities to realize they can grow, they can expand, and they can do whatever they decide to do if they put their mind to it, whether it be IT, writing, filming, being a graphic designer, whatever the case may be, a car mechanic, or even an electrician. It doesn't matter. There's potential in everybody. So, and like I say, the interesting thing is IT has become so integrated now with everything. It's in aeroplanes, it's in cars, it's on your phone, it's on your watch, it's in your TV, it's on your laptop. It's in the supermarket when you check in and check out groceries. It's when you go and buy your train ticket or your bus ticket. You swipe your card or ID. I mean, it's just becoming so part of our lives. So it does make sense for people to have a bit of understanding about the technology. They don't have to be experts. They don't even have to get qualified or learn how to drive it. But if someone talks to them, they can say, yeah, well, I know the difference between a Samsung phone and an iPhone. They're both phones. They both make phone calls. But there are fundamental differences between the technologies. So people don't need to know in depth, well, it's got this CPU and it runs at this. It's like, yeah, whatever. I just need to know, make a phone call. Why is it that when I open up an Apple phone, my emojis are different to your emojis? Simple things. Well, I don't see that. How come my WhatsApp looks different from your WhatsApp on the phone? So when people realize the fundamentals out there, and you'll be surprised how many people already know about technology, and they think they don't, but they do. They know a lot. I mean, how many people have mobile phones? Whether it's a touchscreen phone or a push button phone, it's still technology. So, and technology is changing, and it's really going to change the way we work. And I can see with Azure moving to a full hybrid environment in the future. People say, oh, well, don't think that's going to happen. That's going to happen. Trust me. I can see where the technology is going. Also, we have HoloLens, where Microsoft and Facebook have released Oculus. Google are releasing theirs, where you put on a pair of glasses and it brings up a computer screen and you can record anything, and you can say record, stop, file. I mean, now with HoloLens, the US military are using it to train pilots, electricians and stuff, where you could now bring up a 3D model and work on it. NASA designed the latest Mars rover using HoloLens. So they could spin it around, crawl underneath it, have a look, see the exact clearance, see where this part's going to fit, before it goes into production. So that A, they don't waste money, and B, they get it right the first time. Where before, people would engineer stuff and, oh, that doesn't work. Okay, we'll need to take it off and re-image it, or skim it down, or do something, or modify it, or panel beat that thing in to make it work again. Now with technology, it's bringing everything to the forefront. I mean, all your petrol companies run on technology. You look at that big petrol company that was hacked in America with ransomware. It brought the whole pipeline down, because technology is so integrated. And people say, oh, well, these ransomware hackers, yes, they're bad, but the pipeline company needs a smack on the hand because their IT people suck. If they had the correct security in place and the correct measures in place, they could have prevented this from happening. And companies don't realize the value of security until it's too late.
Yeah.
Then they want to spend all the money on getting security in place. And it's one of the few areas where companies really don't like to spend money. And that's a nice thing with Azure. Microsoft have done companies a huge favor. They've built in security into Azure to protect against ransomware. And if your security is set up correctly and you have good safeguards in place, the chances of you getting ransomware are slim. I'm not saying it's impossible. Where there's a will, there's always a way. These hackers are very smart. They get paid for a living to write ransomware and deliver ransomware. They're there to make money. I mean, I've worked for a few companies that were hit by ransomware. The previous company I worked at was hit by ransomware, and they were demanding payment. And I'm like, up yours. You're not going to get paid anything. Luckily, I had backups to recover my data, and I had firewalls in place. And the only way the ransomware got in is because one of the executives brought in a corrupted USB file and plugged it into the network in his PC, because he was a very high level executive. He had access to copy files to a USB drive. That's the only way it got into the network. And I identified it was his USB on his computer that caused it. And then I locked down all the USB devices, so only sanctioned company USB devices are allowed. So if you try to plug in your phone, or you try to plug in something, it says, sorry, not charging. It's not allowed to be connected. So this goes back to IT having the correct policies in place and the correct processes in place. And the problem is when you have such a big company like that American pipeline company, it probably would have cost tens of millions of dollars to implement those policies and procedures. But again, had they done that, they would have mitigated some of the disaster that it had. And it also goes back to IT. Why did IT take so long to recover? Where were the backups? You know, that's terrible. And not only that, what reputation has that done to that company? And I'll let you into a little secret. They're not the only company that's happened to. There are other companies too, and they're keeping quiet about it because they don't want to be embarrassed on TV or in the news, because their share price and stock prices will drop due to that attack, and it will cause the company money. But companies need to realize that, and individuals need to realize that security is a real important part of our environment. So having a base understanding of technology is really important. I mean, I can give a whole talk on ransomware, you know, and how bad it is and how these criminals make money, you know. And, you know, people say, oh, these people from Russia and China. America also do ransomware. Don't think America is innocent, you know. Don't think Australia, New Zealand, Japan, China, Russia are all innocent. They all have bad people in their countries doing naughty stuff. It's not saying that the governments are bad. The governments are different in each country, and they have their own policies and processes to combat cyber threats. But again, at the end of the day, going back to companies, it's all about having security in place. And, you know, people are quick to blame Russia or quick to blame China or quick to blame somebody else. You know, my philosophy is, yes, all those countries have a reputation of doing bad things. But again, the media like to sensationalize everything as well. So again, it's coming out now that ransomware attack on the pipeline could possibly be from people from Canada and the US. So, and then the media are saying, no, it's from Russia. And people say, no, it's from China. Oh, no, it's from Ukraine. No, it's from Czechoslovakia. You know, doesn't matter where it's from. In order to mitigate a threat, you need to have a defense in place. I mean, you can lock your house as much as you want, but if someone wants to get in, they're going to get in. But if you have a locked gate and a locked door and another locked gate, it's a deterrent. And hopefully when they get to deterrent number 3, they're like, oh, this is too much. This is not worth getting into. You know, I'm going through too many locked doors. Where if you just have one door or one window, he'll throw a rock through. Oh, that's easy. Let's just climb in the window and take stuff. But if you have security bars and he breaks the window, that's okay. You still got to cut through the security bars. Oh, I'm not going to do that. That's too much hard work. So having some deterrence in place does protect you as an individual and you as an organization. And that goes back to keeping your operating system updated with the latest patches and updates. The same with your antivirus, having the latest antivirus updated and patched. And again, these ransomware, people knowing what to look for. How ransomware gets in is via email. People will send you an email, because how else is it going to get into the system? You know, again, ransomware could even be on a phone, and someone could plug the phone into the computer, and that's all it needs to have that network connection. And then it jumps from your phone straight into your computer. Once it's on your computer, it spreads through the network like fire, and then everything's all up the creek without a paddle. So it all depends on what ransomware you have and how it's deployed and who's behind it. But it's all a money-making scheme. And, you know, the only way to stop ransomware is to have good security processes in place. You know, you can say to companies and organizations, don't pay ransomware, but they need to pay to get their data back, you know, because they may have critical information. It may be a hospital, for argument's sake, that's hacked, that needs their information recovered, and they've got no choice but to pay the ransomware. That's when the hospital should say, okay, well, what went wrong? Let's look at us before we start blaming somebody else. How did it get into our network? Why didn't our systems detect a threat? So these are all things that companies need to realize. So hence the investment in security is quite huge. But at the end of the day, again, moving to cloud platforms like Azure and AWS and Alibaba and Google Cloud already have all these protections in place, all these controls in place. You just need to go and enable those controls to suit your environment. I mean, it's not saying that you won't be attacked. I mean, Microsoft get attacked every single minute of the day, and they have so many processes and security controls in place to keep customers' data safe, to keep private information safe. The same with Apple. People say, well, Apple doesn't get hacked. Yes, they do. You know, it happens everywhere at the end of the day. So having good security policies, processes, and controls won't eliminate the threat entirely, but it'll give you a 90% safe safe zone, as opposed to, oh, well, why should we update the firewall? Why should we spend $20,000 on a new firewall? Again, it comes back to what data do you want to protect, what data is worth sacrificing, and what data is not worth sacrificing. If it's important, that data should then be archived off-site. And again, if you're restoring that data, make sure you restore it to a clean system. If the system's still got ransomware or virus on it, then you're back to square one again. And in fact, you're even worse because you now destroyed your backup. So there's all these things that come into play when you are talking about ransomware, security controls, policies, processes. You know, who are your security engineers? What qualifications do they have? How long have they been working in IT? You know, so there's a lot of things that come into play in terms of combating ransomware, and ransomware is here to stay. And you're going to laugh when I say this. It won't be long before ransomware will be ransomware as a service. People will be renting ransomware as a service, like we have cloud as a service. You'll start having ransomware as a service. And people, when I say that to people, they think I'm insane. I'll give it 1 year, 2 years, and then we'll start seeing it. People developing ransomware as a service. You hire ransomware and pay a fee, and they'll give you the ransomware for 1 day or 2 days to attack somebody. It's going to happen. You're going to be renting the ransomware. I know we laugh, but that's exactly what's going to happen. You know. And yeah, we'll sit back in a few years and we'll say, yep, he was right. Ransomware as a service is here. It's coming. And if antivirus companies and security companies and individuals don't wake up, they're going to get caught flat-footed. I mean, companies are starting to wake up now and realize, but I think a lot of organizations and companies globally need to take ransomware threats seriously, because besides the financial impact that it's happening, it's causing a disruption to people's lives. I heard on the news that one of the hospitals in India was attacked with ransomware. And you think, oh my word, if India is not going through enough with COVID, they've got to be attacked with ransomware. I said, Which unscrupulous person has done that? People are suffering already. I heard other hospitals have been attacked with ransomware. You know, it's like these are people's lives you're playing with. I mean, the pipeline hack caused disruption all over the US. People couldn't get fuel. They couldn't heat their homes. Some of them are, you know, were in cold areas. So it had a far-reaching effect besides fuel. People, you know, couldn't travel. They couldn't go to the hospitals. Ambulance couldn't run. So it has a really bad effect on society. And that's not ransomware. That's malicious greed that's taken place because they don't care about the next person or the next individual. And these people that deliver this system out to the community to attack people, you'll never stop them because you cut their head off, another one rises tomorrow. It's like a Hydra monster. You'll never get rid of it. It's always there. The only thing to do is to protect yourself and to provide safeguards for your own environment. And companies and individuals need to start realizing that at the end of the day. I mean, because you even get it won't be long before your phone gets ransomware. I'm just waiting for the ransomware for phones to come out. Oh, you want all your contacts and Skype contact, pay me some money and then I'll unblock your phone. So, you know, that's where it's going. Anything that can connect to the internet is vulnerable to attack because people are just scrupulous. They don't care. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, it's nice to give attackers a taste of their own medicine. And I've done that. I had someone call me and tried to scam me. And I actually remoted into their call center. And I locked their machines down. There was pandemonium. I was threatened terribly with all sorts of things. Then when the threats didn't work, then there was pleading. You know, and I'm like, but you've done this to so many other people. And, you know, I've handed data over, but it's so big, it's hard for the police to govern and track because the police will shut a scam center down this morning and it'll open up again tomorrow afternoon. There's so many out there. So at the end of the day, you know, I've seen a video with a guy that hacked a call center, hacked a Russian lady out of her money, and he ended up being Russia's #1 hacker. So he hacked that whole call center and brought down 400 machines and deleted and ransomware their whole system. He even went as far as freezing their bank accounts and locking all the bank accounts. So I thought, that's excellent. You have a taste of your own medicine. And again, it's a vicious cycle when it comes to security, ransomware, and stuff at the end of the day. And it's very easy to blame the people in the call center, saying, oh, you know, you guys are scamming. To them, it's a job. You know, they're feeding their families. So, you know, it's a real two-edged sword. You know, the one side is, you know, they what they know they're doing is wrong. And the other side is they know they're doing that because they need to provide for their families. And the only people that really reap the benefits of a cyber attack are the people up top. You know, not the guy making the phone call. He doesn't reap any rewards. He'll reap a small amount compared to people above him. So it is a serious concern and it is a threat. And I would think that with the way technology is going, the way cloud technology is delivering products, it's combating ransomware. It's going to stop a lot of stuff in its tracks. But again, it's like anything else. It won't be long before these guys start trying to develop newer technology to attack these systems. But again, Microsoft and AWS have the money and the resources to really secure the cloud. So do Google. And Microsoft and Google and Amazon and Facebook are all in agreement around security and scamming and ransomware and threats around data. And even Apple, you know, are all there to pour money, time, and resources to try and secure infrastructure as much as they can. And that's all you can do at the end of the day when it comes to combating this type of nonsense. So yeah, it's sad, but in reality, it is what it is. And at this current stage, you have to live with it and move forward. And the best way to do that is protect yourself the best way you can. Not all companies and individuals can afford to buy the latest and greatest software to keep things protected. So you just do the best that you can with what you have and make sure you have a off-site backup. So if something does go bump, you can get out of hot water.
Awesome. I'm sure after listening to you, a lot of eyes will open and they start thinking about how the backup and way to how to be secured, how to keep data safe, and also it is a message for me also. I'm also a person who is creating a lot of content, so it is very important for me to save the content, and there will be a lot of people who will be having a lot of important content, important details that they don't want to share. Like you said, the top companies that they are providing, like they can offer uh, uh, in making the data getting back, but not everybody can do that. So individuals cannot do that. So like I'm sure it will be a great advice and a suggestion to all to everybody.
I mean, as an individual, I would say have your little USB drive and make a copy of your data on your USB drive and keep your USB drive in a safe place. If something does go bump, you can say, well, that's fine. I'm not paying you to restore my data. I can recover it. Yes, your backup may be old, but it's better than no backup.
Correct.
So,
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. You don't have to have high-end antiviruses and stuff. As long as you've got a USB drive, that is clean and safe, then you can copy your data once a week across and just keep it in a safe place. And then the following week, copy it again. It's good if you've got two USB drives so that you can rotate them. And, it's a cheap way of doing stuff. It's not the ideal solution, but it's better than no solution. Because sometimes you can say, well, I'm going to back up my data to the cloud because there's a cloud provider that will give you my data. No, they won't. And who's to say that the data they're going to give you is going to be given to you in a timely manner? They may want to charge you for it. Another good way to secure your data and keep it safe is OneDrive. It's free, and you get 50 gig.
Yeah.
So back up your data to OneDrive as well. So you've got it free because Microsoft will keep your OneDrive secure. Or if you've got Google Drive, back up your data to Google Drive. If your data is much bigger, then back it up to a USB as well and keep it on you. So you've got your data in two places. It's bad news to have your data with one place only and go to sleep at night. Because if something goes bump, you may not get your data from that place. Your data, they may accidentally damage your data and say, oh, well, it's your fault. So you'll end up having your fault, he said, she said, and you could carry on doing that until the cows come home, and it's not going to fix anything. So experience has taught me to have 3 copies of my data at different places so that if something does go bump, I can restore from one of those copies I know is absolutely secure and safe. And again, once you make a backup, test that your backup works. Test you can access the files, because you can back it up, but if you can't restore it for some reason, then why the hell did you back it up? It's not going to work. Because that's happened where people have I backed up my data, restore. I can't. Something's corrupt. So I always say back up your data. Don't restore all of it. Copy your files over and then plug your USB drive in and see if you can copy the files back and open that file and see if you can read it. If you can, then your data's pretty good. So you don't have to do all the files. You just randomly pick a file and drag it to your desktop, open it. Oh, yeah, I can open it. That's good. My USB is fine. Because too many people copy data over and they don't copy it properly. And then they come to restore and like, I can't restore. Then they go to the other backup, I still can't restore because they've done the same thing on the 3 backups. And again, you have backup programs that say the backup was successful. Rubbish, because you plug it in and all your data is corrupt. And then you get hold of the vendor and you say, but your backup software said it was successful. Oh, well, you need this patch and this update. And well, why didn't you do that earlier on? Well, you never asked us. I'm like, well, it's your software. It's your responsibility to keep it up to date. That's why using a platform like Google Drive, OneDrive, or Azure file storage will keep your data safe. But not only that, it'll encrypt your data with 256-bit encryption so that your data is encrypted and it's safe. And if they get hit by ransomware, then it's Google or Microsoft's responsibility to give you back your data. And of course, they have data in multiple regions, in multiple data centers across the globe. So it's like, well, here's your data in a few minutes. No problem, there's your data, off you go. Not like, well, I don't know, maybe we might be able to get your data back. Well, you can either get it back or you can't. There's no might. You know, Star Wars like Yoda, either do or do not do. Simple as that. And it's the same as your data, you know, you either get your data back or you don't. You don't get half your data back because what's to say that the half you got back is not corrupted anyway? So these are things that you need to think about at the end of the day. And also you need to think about who's doing your data recovery for you, because some people will charge you for data recovery and they're not cheap. And then there's no guarantee that they're going to recover your data anyway. So you pay this money and, oh no, we can't recover your files, or here's one file. And like, no, it doesn't work that way. And then it's like, well, it's not my problem really, I don't care, but it's your problem because you now lost all your information and it puts you between a rock and a hard place, and to try and recover or rebuild that information, it's terrible. It's a huge process. In some cases, it's like, okay, that's gone, and good luck for that. You know, I'm not going to do that anymore. It's just, yeah, I've got to live with it. So these are things that you need to be aware of. So I'll always say to someone, once you've backed up your data, take your USB to another computer and see if you can restore it. And people say, well, how do I back up data with my phone? You know, I've got to plug my phone and use iTunes or Samsung. So you can plug in a cable and do that. But you can buy little things now that are little adapters that plug into your phone, and on the other end it plugs in a USB key. And you can just drag from your phone straight onto the USB drive. And you can put the USB drive in your pocket. And you've got your data there as well, in case something happens to your phone. I'm not saying your phone will get hacked, but you may drop your phone or it falls in the ocean, or someone drives over it, or you forgot it was on the floor and you stand on it. You can even come up with some excuse, like someone else said, oh, my dog ate my phone. I'm like, geesh, and your dog is still alive. You know, a phone's quite a big phone. Come up with another excuse. I don't believe your dog ate the phone. You know, that's, yeah, I need to see that dog because that's a special dog. You know, so it's either, oh no, I lost my phone, or whatever the case may be. So these are all the things that you need to think about when it comes to protecting your information at the end of the day. And I see now Apple have on their iPhones now give you the option for people to harvest your data or not. So when you install WhatsApp on an iPhone, it'll say, do you want to share your data with Facebook and Instagram, yes or no? And you can say no. And Facebook are quite upset about it because that's how they generate their revenue. And Apple says, well, we don't care. That's what we're doing. And it's not just Apple, even Samsung, I heard, are starting to do that now. When you get a Samsung app, it'll ask you now, do you want to share it with Facebook or Instagram, yes or no? So a lot of companies are following suit, and Facebook are expecting a huge decline in their revenue because of that, because that's how they make their money, through data and marketing. So that's why there's this big thing for everyone to accept the new WhatsApp agreements and everything, otherwise your WhatsApp's not going to work properly and stuff, and it's all based around that. It's all based around your data, keeping your information safe. I mean, you'll be sitting and we'll be talking about data recovery, and I bet you'll get a Facebook post, here's some data software, or here's a USB drive. You know, It didn't ask for software USB file, but your phone has got AI built into it. So it heard you talking about data recovery. So it says, well, here's all the posts for USB drives and data software. And that's how they drive their campaign. So again, people, I think, are getting tired of that now. And hence these laws are coming into place. But also people's data's personal data is important and it's private. They don't want to share that information with companies and organizations out there. They want to keep their information safe themselves. I mean, someone was once said to me the other day that they applied for a job somewhere and they asked for all their Facebook and Instagram information, and he's like, what do you need that for? That's part of the job application. I said, no, I'm not giving you that. That's private information, you know. And the one person was quite upset because he wouldn't say, no, I'm not giving you that. So, you know, at the end of the day, it just depends on where you are, the individuals. Not all companies are like that. A lot of companies respect your privacy and data because companies want to keep their data and privacy intact as well. So if things are done properly, it's a win-win for everyone. But again, when it comes to these malicious people, that's how they make their money. You know, they're out there to make money. They don't care who they harm or which data they take or which device they crash or which company they bring down or which company they held ransom. They don't care. It's just about money and greed. And you think about ransomware, it's only in the last 5 years that it's become a menace. It's always been there, but it's in the last 5 or 6 years that it's really exploded globally and become a threat. And again, like I say, the antivirus companies are doing a great job in combating a lot of the ransomware. But again, there'll be a new version out to combat some of the fixes. So the security companies are working really hard to keep everybody safe. But again, you can also do your part by keeping your data safe and your backup safe. And again, if you do a backup, just make sure that when you back up, it works. That's how I back up to a drive and it doesn't work. Then it's like, well, that's a nice backup. And then it becomes a paperweight and then life becomes interesting very quickly. So there's a lot of things you can do to protect yourself.
It's a very, very, very valuable information that you give about data security and protecting their own data.
Yeah, because I mean, there is some data that you can share with people. You might say, okay, I'm quite happy for you to have access to this data and that data, but other data you may say, no, I don't want to have access to. Not only that, the big key around data is who's going to use the data and what's it going to be used for, and where's the data going to live, and how long are you going to keep the data for? Are you going to keep it forever? Is it going to be deleted? What guarantee do I have that you're going to delete that data? Why do you need that information? Who's going to have access to that information? How long are they going to have access to that information? And that doesn't just come down to data. It comes down to even in your company when people need to have access to certain resources. Why do you need access to that shared drive? What resources do you want to access on there? Do you have permission? Do companies have policies and processes in place? Are things signed off? Are they tested? Are they confirmed before that individual is granted authority to access certain documentation or certain information? So it's quite a huge topic, security, in getting around and getting to understand the triggers that you can have and the warning flags to look for when you have a data breach. And how did the data breach occur? Where did it come from? And what data has it affected? And what's the damage of the data? What data, or the integrity of the data, you know, what data can be restored? And then it's also a case of, right, what data can we live without? You know, and so you have all these things that come into play when you're looking at recovering data or you've been ransomwared. You need to have a look and say, okay, well, no, I'm not paying the fee. just format everything and restore from a backup and move on, and then figure out how the ransomware got into the network so that it doesn't happen again. Update and patch your systems with the latest updates and security fixes to protect your environment. Again, ransomware doesn't have to come through Windows. I mean, other controllers and other devices can be ransomware, like the pipeline in thing that, you have valve controllers that control the flow of petrol. They have PCL boards. So again, it's a case of how did they get access to those PCL boards? Everything communicates over the internet. Is there a hole in the firewall that allowed them to gain access to that? No, we'll never know that. But again, when you're talking about security, there's a lot of things that you need to think about. And some of the worst security things is not ransomware, it's social engineering. Or should I say dumpster driving? Let's go and dig through Si's garbage, see what receipts he has, see his bank bill, see his telephone bill, see his address. From that, I can go and open up a bank account in your name and start giving you a bad name, giving you bad credit. So there's a lot of things that come into play with documentation, because I mean, what do you need to open up a bank account? I need a proof of address, I need an ID, and I need a receipt of something. And those are all easy to fake once they know who you are. They can have my face on my phone and they can say, I'm Si, and that's called identity theft. They've stolen your ID. And then they could put your address down and you're getting a bill for $800 for something like, well, I didn't buy that. Well, yes, you did. You came in and opened the bank account. No, I didn't. Yes, you did. And then you go to the bank account and say, does this look like me? No. Oh, it must have been your brother then. And like, no. So bank staff and bank tellers and organizations like it are becoming aware of identity theft and protecting stuff so people can protect themselves against all of this and keep themselves secure. So security is so huge and it's such a big topic. And I mean, you get people who live and breathe security. That's what they do for a living. And I mean, I know a lot about security, but a lot of people know 10 times more than me. But at the same time, the average Joe blog in the street or the average user doesn't need to know everything there's about security. They just need to know what to look for to say, well, no, that's a scam. Or, okay, no, we don't just crumple that paper up and throw it in the bin. We actually tear it up and really shred it before we put it in the bin. So there's a lot of things that come into play. I mean, a good example of harvesting information, people might say, oh, we're running a promotion. If you fill out this form, you could be in a chance to win $1,000. You're not going to win the $1,000. They want your information. They want your address and stuff so they can sell it or market it. Are you with me? They don't care. So these are things that you've got to be aware of in terms of your situation. I mean, I'll give you a good example. Long ago, I was invited to a time sharing thing because they said, oh, fill out this form. You could win a timeshare and go somewhere and stay in this hotel at like 60% discount and 80% discount. And you could be in a chance to win a car and stuff. So you kind of fill the form out. And then you get a phone call, oh, we invite you to this seminar. You go to the seminar. And then they say, oh, well, you need to do this. And then you say, I don't want to. Then they get a little bit upset with you because you don't want to sign. And you kind of say, well, how did they target people? And they target people based on, because they'll ask you, what salary do you earn from $1,000 to $5,000 a month? And they target you like that. And then they say, if you come to our seminar, you'll get a free coffee mug. So you'll go and you'll get your free coffee mug. And then when you want to leave, they want to try and coerce you into signing agreements with them and stuff. And you can do this timeshare and that timeshare. And say, well, I'll never go on holiday to Greece, so I don't need a timeshare in Greece. Oh, but you might one day. I said, no, I won't. I said, I heard what you had to say. I'm not interested. I'm going home. Then, but I said, do you want your coffee cup back? Because, but that's how they harvest information, and people are not aware of the simple tricks that people do. I'm not saying all of it's trickery. You know, there are some genuine promotions that will help you where you stand a chance of winning stuff. But at the end of the day, I really don't sign up to promotions, because at the end of it, it's just giving them your phone number, your home address, and your details. You know, at the end of the day, why do I need to do that? You know, give me a free ticket, and if I win, then you can call me and let me know. But again, they'll say, well, here's a free ticket. We just need your address and phone number. Like, I don't need that. Or we offer free cleaning services. Just give us your address and phone number, and then we'll come and clean your house. How do I know it's a free cleaning service? They might be wanting to scope your house out. So there's a lot of things that you can be aware of that sort of like doesn't make sense to you when people are trying to bait you or get information out of you. And the average person doesn't know a lot about that. And that's what lands them in trouble at the end of the day, because they'll sign something and they don't know what they're signing, and then they're in hot water. And the person they signed that thing, they're the ones that's making the money and reaping the rewards, you not. So again, there's a lot of good people out there that want to help secure people and protect them. But again, at the end of the day, you as an individual, you need to be able to say, well, I'm going to learn about these. So if someone calls me, I know it's a scam. If someone, I had someone saying, oh, you want to phone me, oh, you've won a trip to Disneyland. All we need is $500 to cover to cover costs. I said, what for? Oh, it's administration costs. Don't tell them everything's paid for. So I said, well, if it's all paid for, why do you need administration costs? You know, and I'll go on. I'm like, why? If it's free, why do I have to pay for something? Oh, but if you don't pay, you're going to miss out. Well, okay, I'll miss out. I'm not paying you for something that I haven't won. I said, how do I know I've won it? Oh, I'm telling you on the phone you've won. I said, I don't believe you. So, but some people are not like it. Some people, oh yeah, okay, where do I send the $500? And they, thank you, sucker, next one. and we laugh, but that's exactly what they do, you know. And at the end of the day, you've lost your hard-earned money, and you may not earn a lot of money. And I have an old saying, Si, if it's too good to be true, then it's true. And I'll say that slowly. If it's too good to be true, then it's true, because that's exactly it. Nothing is too good. Something's not right. So if something's too good to be true, something wrong. No one's going to offer you all of these amazing things. Something's wrong. If it's so good, why aren't you doing it? Or why isn't everybody else doing it? Oh, but they are. I'm like, no. And that's the thing. Our greed gets in the way. And it's like, oh, man, this is a good deal. I can invest $10 and get $50 back. Or I invest $10, I'm going to get $200 back. How the hell are you going to do that in 30 days? Like, that's too good to be true. But people are greedy. Like, yeah, okay, yes, $200. I'm going to now get $600 back at the end of the month. And then they wait and like, where's my money? Sucker, gone. People have down the road with their money, gone. And it's like, well, who's going to invest? You know, it's like me saying, hey, Si, give me $2 and I guarantee by the end of the month it'll turn into $1,000. There was a Bitcoin scam going around, not recently, where they said we've got these free Bitcoins, we've got from Elon Musk, they've given us 10,000 free Bitcoins. You're one of the few lucky ones. Just send £500 and we'll send you 6 Bitcoins. They raked in millions. People are like, oh, I'm going to get my 6 Bitcoins. My £500 is going to give me, one person sent £9,000. I said, oh man, if you pay £9,000, you'll get Bitcoins worth £60,000. They paid it straight away. Like, okay, and I'm waiting for my, like, no, there's no £60,000. But I lost £9,000. Your problem. But that's people's greed, because it's too good to be true. It's like, no, that doesn't make sense. That's impossible. But because it sounds so good, people quickly forget, well, hang on, stop. Something's not right here. Let's have a look. you know, because there are warning flags that pop up. And you can raise these warning flags. And even when you're asking a person, you can ask him questions. And you can hear from his tone of voice and stuff, like, no, that's not right. Something's not kosher here. And that's because, not because people are stupid. No, people are well educated. It's because people don't know. You know, and you can say, oh, well, he was stupid. And that's why people that get scammed and don't want to tell family or friends or anybody, because they feel humiliated. I got scammed. We all get scammed. Just be aware. And if it's, you know, you have people knocking, you know, I'm from tax. I'm here to collect your $2,000 tax bill. No, you're not. If you're from tax, send me an email. What's your email address? You should have it. It's on record. What's your phone number? You have it. It's on record. Hang on. Let me take a photo of you. What's that for? So I can identify you with tax. You know, and they may come there with badges. Well, I don't believe you. Let's go to the tax office together. And you go to a tax office that you know. And you'll see very quickly they disappear. So people are really good at creating fronts and covers to scam people out of whatever little money they have. And like I say, the more people are aware of these things, the better they can protect themselves. And again, you can't say, hey, well, Cy and Ryan are stupid. They got scammed. They are idiots. We didn't know because nobody took the time to explain to us the pitfalls and the things we should look out for. If you get an email from someone you don't know who it is, delete it. I don't know who you are, who's a strange person email, delete it. Oh, but it might be important email. No, it's not. Delete it. You know, if it's that important, they'll phone you. You know, it's as simple as that. So people are quite tenacious. People are even so smart where they'll spam your address or spoof your address. So this email's coming from side, but it's not. So there's other ways to check for spoofed emails, you know, and stuff. So security is a huge, huge topic on its own, and you could spend weeks covering different aspects of security and scamming and hacking. And just using general knowledge, common sense will keep you at least 90% safe. But again, 10% people don't have common sense. So those 10% of your brain will always kick in. So you need to kind of say, well, hang on, my brain is telling me no, but something else is telling me yes. And you should say, no, something doesn't smell right here. Something doesn't sit correctly. Something doesn't make sense. And say, no, that doesn't work. And then protect yourself. And someone says, well, your loss, I've made 10 grand. So, well, that's good to you. I'm glad you made 10 grand. I'm so happy for you. And I'm happy with my little bit of money that I made because I worked hard for it. I'm not going to give it to someone to be scammed and lost. So even if your family member says, oh, we've signed up for this, because even family members have been scammed on pyramid schemes and stuff and lost families' savings and stuff. It's terrible. So again, you know, you kind of look at all the things and the pitfalls to be aware so people just don't get caught. You know, they can identify very quickly, no, this is some pyramid scheme going on. No, this is some scammer trying to do some nonsense. So at the end of the day, you can protect someone to a certain extent. But then if your greed kicks in, that's what the scammers and everybody play on is your greed. It's as simple as that. And of course, then you move up the food chain where you start having the ransomware things, which is a physical threat against your network infrastructure or your hardware infrastructure to brick it and lock it down. And then once you pay the scammers, they'll unblock it for you. But then there's no guarantee that they're going to unblock it for you. Are you with me? So, but we will. But, you know, what guarantee do you have? Just word of mouth. Well, hang on. But not only that, once you pay a ransomware fee, the ransomware people will sell you out to the next ransomware person. He's a sucker, so you can get money from him. And that's how they work. So the only way to stop that is by having a basic knowledge of security, common sense, and if something doesn't sound right, then talk to someone that has more experience and more knowledge and go from there. And if you see somebody's being hacked, and hey, there's someone is doing naughty stuff, notify your, the police and say, look, this person's doing this or that. Notify, if it's on Facebook or LinkedIn, let the monitors know this is what's going on, and they'll very quickly shut stuff down where they can. But yeah, these guys are scrupulous, and they'll scam you, everything from you, and they'll do it with a smile on their face. They really don't care. So at the end of the day, the only way to protect yourself is to be vigilant.
It's very intriguing.
Yes.
It's a great information, Ryan. Thank you very much for giving me your valuable time and telling about the fundamentals of Azure. At the same time, the most and the very important topic, security, protecting the data, securing data. Very, very must known topic. So thank you very much. Next week, if you give me your valuable time again,
Yeah, absolutely.
we'll talk about
we can do next
about
week. Yeah.
the next topic after the second lab.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, no worries. Just let me know next week, and then same time, call me next week, same time, and we'll do the same lab. Yeah. Absolutely.
It's a very important thing. You made my day today by telling about something which is very, very, very important. Even my professor didn't say this in my master's.
Oh dear.
It's a superb information. Not only me, it's everybody who is listening this, I'm sure they will put their both hands together. In India, they say like, it's a greeting. It's a greeting. They feel very, I'm sure with my personal experience as a person connected with all these people, I'm telling they will feel very, very happy after listening to your words today. This particular session that we had, I'm sure they won't stop listening to you. I'm 100% sure with my experience that
they'll mute.
Because it's a really it's really very, very important thing that you said. All the IT people will never forget whatever you said their entire life until they be in IT.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate it. And like I say, I always look forward to us chatting. So again, same time next week is great. We can do whatever other topics you want. We can do whatever discussions you want. It's awesome. So I really appreciate you, like I say, the time. I'm glad we've built a really good friendship, which is awesome. So I'm really happy about that as well. So that's nice. And I get on well with you. So again, it's a privilege to spend time with you. Because I know it's also your time is valuable too. So it's a two-way street at the end of the day. So thank you as well, Si.
So today we had a session. So I don't know the series. So only you. I will follow you. You said whatever you said. I will go and see the video again. There's a practical session. I will see the video again. After that, the way you say one session, I will follow that.
Okay.
So that I can understand. I really don't know.
Okay.
You said you said that me to ask what I know, but actually I'm not into Microsoft Azure. I'm into AWS. So I really don't know. I will go with the flow that you say.
Okay.
So I will believe.
But like I say, we'll start with fundamentals and get people comfortable and get people wanting to use Azure, and then we'll just work through. I mean, next week, like I say, we can create users and groups. We can pick a topic from Azure, and we can just do it live straight away, and that'll be really good, and it'll be very helpful to your users that want to learn Azure. And then of course, at the end of the day, you can compare it as well with your AWS knowledge and say, well, AWS does this, Azure does this. So at least at the end of the day, you can give your viewers the best of both worlds. So we're very lucky in that way as well, that you can bring a lot of stuff to the party as well. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm learning simultaneously AWS services every week. So whenever you say, I will come and I will try to compare it. I will try to put it in front of you.
If you tell me what services you're learning that week on AWS, I can do the same on Azure. So
that's awesome. Yeah. But the fundamentals we need, right? After fundamentals.
Onto fundamentals, So we'll go through all the fundamentals with Azure. So next week, what we can do is we can talk about what is Azure and why do we get Azure certified. So I've got some nice PowerPoint slides on that, and we can do that as well. And then you can share that, and we can ask questions afterwards.
It's a very big thing. I'm sure who are following us, definitely they will improve their skills. At the same time, they will learn a lot from all these series of videos. Thank you very much, Ryan, for giving me your valuable time. And I want you to do what you are doing, and the service that you are doing is fantastic, amazing. So very few people I saw have this kind of a great, this universal, this top viewing mindset. So I'm one of your category. So,
thank you.
So thank you very much, sir, for giving me your time. Can I put this video and audio clip on my YouTube channel, on social media, internet, website, podcast, everywhere with your permission?
Yes, absolutely. You don't need to ask me. You can do that all the time. That's absolutely fine, Si. It's all good.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
I'll meet you next week.
Okay. All right. See you next week. Thanks, Si.
Thank you, sir. Bye.